Okay, hi. I've never done a YouTube live before. I love that this filter sort of edits out part of my hair and part of not. So I use the blur background moment so that I don't get distracted by what's going on in the background. If you're new here, if you found me through autistic coaching, cool. I'm not really doing that anymore. And if you found me through creative writing, cool. I'm still doing that, but different. If you found me through activism, great, wonderful. Hi, I am the weirdest activist maybe you'll ever meet because I don't make other people wrong for where they're at in their learning curve. Today, I am tuning in live because it's really stretchy and uncomfortable for me. And while I've got you here, I'm going to share it to my Facebook, and maybe some people will see it and want to watch, and maybe I'll freak out and have an anxiety crisis in real time. It'll be totally fine. I'm going live right now to chat off the cuff about what's happening in my life and business and how I almost wrecked it all this year. Okay, that's shared. People can come and find it. They can watch it later, whatever. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Cheryl. I use they, them pronouns, and I promise not to make it any weirder than it already feels for you to practice. I know that there's a lot in the online space, in the activist space, and in the world right now where if you make a mistake, you get canceled. That's the vibe, right? That's the energy. I'm here to tell you that that is not an accurate reflection of humanity. That's actually the way that Meta specifically, but social media has been designed. It's designed to keep you engaged, and who loves drama more than a bunch of people on the internet playing looky-loos, right? Yeah. So it's taught me in the last few years to realize that every single comment on the internet is not of the same level of quality. It's not at the same level of respect, of dignity, of humanity. And it allows me to just be like, hide for everyone block. Like, if I wouldn't let you take care of my cats, give me financial advice, house sit for me when I'm not home, why am I investing so much energy in your opinions? Okay, so that's my little side note. So I'm Cheryl. I live on Vancouver Island in Nanaimo territory on stolen land that's slowly being given back to its rightful people, the Nanaimo First Nation, also known as Nanaimo, Vancouver Island. I'm learning how to be in a right relationship with the land and the community that I find myself in, and I fail forward on that on a regular basis. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today. The art of failing forward is something that is somehow magically no longer accepted. We've got this idea that life is about accolades, that life is about achievement, that life is about forever eternal personal progress, and you just always have to strive to be a better version of yourself. And we forgot that becoming a better version of ourselves is the byproduct of a well lived life. I forgot that. I forgot that this year, when from a place of stress and panic, I tried to pivot my entire business to meet a huge need that I saw in the market for sure, but to be pressured into it from someone who wanted to work with me, and I wasn't offering the services they wanted. And so because I wasn't making the kind of money that I wanted to make, and I really did need the income from working with this person, I said yes. And I completely, instead of just doing a one-off offer, the thing that they asked for, I completely changed my entire business. I changed my website, I changed my branding, I blocked everyone that this person was triggered by. Like, it got fucking dicey. And like, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to protect everyone's identity and everyone's autonomy, because that's not the point. The point is that I gave my power away this year to other people's opinions. And if I'm really, really honest, it didn't start this year. I've known for the last 2, 3 years that a relationship that's really important to me, that saved me, that came at exactly the right time, that was built on mutual respect and unconditional love, changed during the pandemic. And maybe you felt this. Maybe you changed during the pandemic. Maybe, if especially if you're in Canada and you were immunocompromised, you were on somewhat kind of your own lockdown even after lockdown ended. If you were like that, hi, it's me. I did that. And during that time, not only did I completely physically change my body, I used to weigh almost 400 pounds and now I'm rocking the cute 250 and still shrinking sustainably. Um, but I had lost almost 200 pounds during the pandemic. I had gotten fit, I had gotten my confidence back, and I had also started working with my coach and mentor, Casey Villard. And she's a really polarizing person because she is all of who she is, and she gives the right amount of fucks, but she doesn't care whether you like her or not. And that really, really is activating and triggering for people in a world where we're sort of taught to be palatable, even in our avant-garde nature, right? So you can be outspoken, but not too outspoken. You can be queer, but not too queer. You can be creative, but not too creative. Don't get too big. Make sure you share the spotlight with everybody else. Why can't we all just have our own spotlight? And then the closer we get together, the spotlight grows and it's really, really bright. Like, isn't that the point? Anyway, digress. So, this person who I was working with, as like I was the mentor and they were the client, kept trying to change the parameters on me all the time. And it was the same pattern that was in my friendship, that was in my relationship, that's somewhere something happened where I was always being edited. I was always being corrected. I was always being critiqued. Assumptions were being made of me, and harbored for months and months. And then they would come up and I'd be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I've been focusing on my life. And I realized that this pattern with this friend, with this client, with other clients, with other relationships was the same core wounding that happened with my mother growing up, and that I was being invited in an upward spiral, which you may have heard. It's real trendy right now, but it's been around for a minute, in Indigenous communities first, then co opted and sold as a breakthrough on the internet, like most things. Anyway, let's be honest about that stuff. So, the spiral upward, healing from an emotionally unhealthy parent child relationship where I was the adult, where everything was up to me, where if anything didn't happen correctly, it was my fault. I was responsible for managing my mother's emotions. I was responsible for managing the emotions around everyone around me. And I was never, never allowed to have my own thoughts and my own feelings. If I did, they had to be kept to myself, because if I shared them, it was a judgment on other people. And I've watched this pattern play out, and I watched almost like an out of body experience for the last 10 months where I knew I knew I wanted to be in the community with my coach and mentor. I knew I wanted to be in As She Rises. I knew I wanted to be there, but I felt like a bad gay, like a bad trans. Hold for the train, because I'm recording this in real time and you may or may not be able to hear that horn, but it's distracting me. Awkward pause for the train. Maybe take a sip of my smoothie. Okay, that horn is far enough away. So I felt like a bad gay, a bad trans, a bad non binary person. I felt like a bad activist. I felt like a bad anti racist, because of all these projections and assumptions coming from the communities that I used to identify with, but I was too afraid to leave once I outgrew them. This is not to say anything bad about any of those communities. I prefer to think of people and what life has to offer like a buffet. Every single thing in that buffet is delicious according to the chef. Some of us will only get the same things we always get from the buffet. Some of us will take a little bit of everything and see what delights us. Some of us like to try something new every single time, and it doesn't make anyone else in the lineup wrong. Yeah? Okay. So I was so afraid that the people who I had loved and respected for the last 10, 11 years, who saw me come out of a Christian cult, who saw me come out as bisexual, who saw me meet my wife, who saw me then come out as non binary, and then later as discovering that I have autism, that the people who had saw that whole growth would reject these people who literally taught me how to be alive again. Everybody in my local community who I was friends with, who I did activism alongside, who I volunteered with, who I would drop everything at a call or a text and go and be there for, they all celebrated my transformation and loudly judged the people and the energetic frequency of those people whenever I was with them. They would simultaneously teach about their values of community and belonging and compassion and all of these different things and talk horrible shit about other people who were in the room whenever I spent time with them. And I started to get in this weird thing where I was loyal to who I used to be instead of who I am now and who I'm becoming. I lost the plot, forgot what my passion and purpose and like why I'm even doing any of any of this because for some people, yeah, it is easier to go and work a day job. For me, it's not. There are so many reasons, and some of them are like mundane human-y reasons, but some of them are in my natal chart. My sense of identity, thank God, as a Leo sun, my sense of identity isn't anywhere where my Leo-ness would fuck it up. It's in my career, which means that if I am not doing what I am meant to do, what I'm called here to do, what is my passion and what is in my purpose, I will start to not know who I am. I will start to be influenced by everything around me. And I will start to fucking not want to be here. And I've watched this pattern play out time and time and time again. And I keep considering everyone else's feelings and emotions as more important and valid than my own, forgetting who I am and what I'm called here to do. And I pigeonholed myself into being a trauma dumping ground for people who aren't willing to do the work. So instead of finding purpose and meaning in the work that I was doing, I was drained having only 2 clients. So my soul told the universe, "This ain't it," and I stopped getting clients. My soul told the universe, "I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle anymore," so it stopped giving me any more. My heart was crying out to be believed, to be understood, to be held, to be carried, to be supported. And I rejected all of the people who had shown up for me in the last 5 years for the people who completely abandoned me when I didn't give them what they wanted. Because of the old wounding from childhood that's like, love me, accept me, support me, celebrate me, Why won't you just love me? Maybe if I do this, maybe if I make myself indisposable, indispensable, irreplaceable in your life, then maybe you'll love me unconditionally. It made all of my relationships transactional, which gave them all this weird aftertaste. So I started hiding from everyone. I was hiding from myself. I didn't want to be seen. I started eating unhealthily and refilling all of my like safety nets with old patterns and behaviors. So I'm just gonna take another drink here. So maybe for some people, their body size and the food that they eat has nothing to do with this. This is not a catch all. This is my story. Okay. I knew something was wrong 2 years ago when I started eating instead of exercising. My whole life as a fat person has been to hide who I am behind layers of fat so that if I get rejected, that's why they're rejecting me. They're not rejecting me, they're rejecting my fatness. Yeah. So some of you might relate to that. And if you're here and you want to talk about it, slide into my DMs on Instagram at the Cheryl Folland, and I'm here to help you honor that story because I use it as a safety mechanism. It's actually fundamentally easier and less expensive, regardless of all the stories that I tell myself, to fuel my body correctly in a way that supports all of the things I want to do and be in the world. And I can't do that if I'm sabotaging through eating trash that makes me feel like garbage and makes me feel ashamed and makes me not want to be seen, right? So for the last 8 months, there's been this tug of war. Like, am I going to continue to worry about the opinions of others and not even their opinions, but their judgments, right? Am I going to continue to dim and dampen who I really am out of fear of rejection? And then create this self fulfilling prophecy of being rejected because I'm rejecting myself for the sake of other people's perceived comfort? Or am I going to go to this event that I just went to, As She Rises Live in Vancouver? Am I going to go to this event, be really vulnerable, be really friggin' honest, surrender to the process, and let whatever happens happen? And I was so scared. I was so scared to go because I thought I was going there to say goodbye. I thought not only was I saying goodbye to this community of people that I had built and that had welcomed me and accepted me at this very vulnerable time when I failed out of missionary school because I have mental health stuff. When I failed out of missionary school and when I came out as queer and was kicked out of the church after getting a Bachelor of Biblical Studies and being a youth pastor and a worship leader. I used to play guitar and piano and sing every Sunday and lead people to these really divine places. And it's not sustainable to pretend to be someone you're not. You feel like an imposter because you're being one. Whenever that impostery feeling comes up, because you're either pretending to be someone you're not or you're hiding who you are out of fear of rejection. I said what I said. So at least that's my story. So I felt like this unrehearsed, unapologetic conversation where I just open it up and say, this is what I was doing. And I could see it happening in real time. And I couldn't stop myself. I had to be willing to go to the depths of the sludge and take an honest stock of what was underneath all of the bells and whistles what my actual operating system was in order to prepare me for where I'm about to go. On September 8th, I dissolved my sole proprietorship and I incorporated Sensory Balance Space Inc. because I know that it is my purpose and divine, like, I don't know, assignment, for lack of a better word, to create a more inclusive and welcoming place on earth. I can do that at live events right now really well. Um, being hired as words are hard. Being hired as a consultant and or host of sensory balance spaces at your live events through teaching and training. But I do it from a lens not of perfection, not of check boxes, not of frameworks, of rules and report cards, but from being my authentic self, from being love with skin on, and allowing people their cultural differences, their values. That one's tricky for some folks. Allowing people to be on a learning curve. Recognize that some things are easy for some folks and some things aren't. Recognize that the way Western mainstream society views queerness and disability is not the gold or platinum standard of what it means to be inclusive, to be welcoming, to be accessible. There's a lot of talk about diversity, inclusion, equity, and accessibility that cuts people like me off. The people like me are who are here to be the bridge between the groups that aren't even aware that they're inaccessible and the groups that ostracize people who want to learn how to be. I'm coughing right now. This is the thing that happens. And until recently, I thought I was the only one, but apparently I'm not. When I start to hit truth, I start to cough a lot. There's a really cute cat who's not my cat who's outside eating all the catnip. And he keeps making the derpiest face at me. So that's also distracting me. However, I digress. It's catching in my throat because it's true. And I know there will be more to come later. If you want me to talk more about this in a more linear way, please reach out to me. I would love to do that for you, but I gotta go because my throat is about to cough so hard. Bye for now.